Welcome to this explainer. Today is May 17th, 2026, and we're kicking things off with a legendary cricket milestone. We're going to look at one of the all-time greats, and then, here's the crazy part. We'll see how a massive new data study just completely shatters the fundamental logic of how batters build their innings. Seriously, it changes everything. So first up, the milestone. Virat Kohli just became the very first batter in IPL history to rack up 9 separate 500-run seasons. 9! With this, he's pulling way ahead of legends like David Warner and KL Rahul, who were sitting on 7 each. It's just an absolute masterclass in longevity and consistency, right? And his brilliant innings today against the Punjab Kings and Dharamsala? Smashing 58 off just 37 balls? It perfectly exemplifies this piece of universally accepted cricket folk wisdom, the absolute vital importance of getting set. Now, if you look at pooled data from over 270,000 IPL deliveries, this conventional wisdom seems absolutely bulletproof. Look at this. Strike rates completely soar from around 103 in those first 5 balls to a massive 150 by ball 30 and eventually well over 200. It seems like a simple, undeniable truth. The longer you stay out there, the better you get. Section 1. The myth of set. A century-old belief. Okay, so to understand the massive twist we're about to uncover in this explainer, we really need to define the stakes of this coaching advice. Practically every coach and fan believes in this. The core theory of getting set makes a two-pronged assumption. It claims that once you face about 30 balls, you've adapted to the pitch and the bowlers. Because of that, 2 things supposedly happen. 1, you score faster, and 2, you become significantly harder to dismiss. The idea is that it's this ultimate plateau of safety and productivity. Well, we know they score faster. We literally just saw the data that proves it. But there's a groundbreaking Columbia University study that analyzed 281,000 IPL deliveries from 2008 all the way to 2026, and it forces us to ask a really uncomfortable question. Does the safety part of this folklore actually hold up? Section 2. The set batter paradox, flipping cricket logic. All right, prepare yourselves because the empirical data is about to create some serious cognitive dissonance for any cricket fan. Everything we thought we knew is getting turned upside down. When researchers isolated the exact same batter facing the exact same over, they found that yes, the batter does genuinely accelerate by about 37 strike rate points. But look over on the right, their dismissal hazard practically doubles. There's no elevated plateau of safety. They actually get far more likely to get out the longer they're at the crease. This table really breaks down the grim reality of the math. At that magic 30-ball mark, where a batter is supposedly set, their hazard lift shoots up by almost 34 dismissals per 1,000 balls. And when you factor in the mathematical cost of losing a wicket, their net value to the team actually becomes negative. Let that sink in. Getting set isn't some safe haven. It's a high-variance state where the rise in dismissal risk literally outpaces the extra runs they're supposedly scoring. And this builds into a pretty grim net negative situation. Under any realistic assumption of what a wicket costs, whether it's 10, 15, or 20 runs, once a batter passes about 15 balls, their net per ball value to the team plunges below the baseline. For the average IPL batter, being set means you are actively hurting your team's mathematical run expectation compared to when you are fresh. Section 3, pace versus spin, the cost of settling in. Now, hold on. Before we start screaming at our screens and firing all the coaches, there is a massive layer of nuance here. The data shows this paradox changes dramatically depending on who's actually bowling the ball. It turns out the old intuition of playing yourself in is deeply conditional. Pace bowling is reactive, right? You see it, you hit it, and your learning curve flattens out really quickly. But spin is an information-rich problem. Reading the flight, the length, the release point, facing more balls continuously builds actual, tangible pattern recognition. The data backs this up beautifully. Check out the blue and red lines. Against pace, the strike rate lift just plateaus around ball 15. You pretty much stop getting better. But against spin, the batter continues to gain massive advantages the more balls they face. Because the strike rate rockets up against spin, while the hazard rise stays roughly the same, getting set against slow bowlers is actually comfortably net positive. That's a huge distinction. Section 4. Why keep set batters? The counterfactual. So this brings us to the climax of our data journey, and honestly, a glaring logical conundrum that we really have to resolve. Think about it. If the set batter is technically a net negative for the team per ball compared to their fresh self, shouldn't we literally instruct them to retire out? Shouldn't we bring the next guy off the bench the very second our opener hits 20 balls? Well, this right here illustrates why standard coaching advice still actually works in practice. The researchers ran a counterfactual comparison. They matched a set batter against a brand new replacement coming in at the exact same point in the game. The result? The set batter vastly outscores a fresh replacement by 54 strike rate points, all while carrying almost the exact same hazard level as the new guy. So here's the absolute crucial takeaway. We still need to protect the set batter, but simply because the bench population is much weaker. This completely upends why we thought the rule worked. You aren't keeping this set batter in because they've reached some magical plateau of safety. You're keeping them in because the alternative, the cold batter walking out of the dugout, is mathematically so much worse for your team in that specific phase of the game.
Section 5. The Kohli Exception. Breaking the Paradox.
Let's bring this explainer full circle and look back at Virat Kohli's historic performance today. You might be wondering, how does a player known as the ultimate anchor thrive if getting set is, on average, a statistical trap? Well, on the right, you see the pool of all IPL batters in blue and Kohli in red. His baseline hazard, his risk of getting out, is just absurdly low compared to the rest of the league, no matter how many balls he's faced.
He literally breaks the paradox. The data shows he's actually slower than the league average between balls 10 and 29. But, and this is a massive but, because his absolute hazard of dismissal is so phenomenally low even when he is set, when he finally explodes in strike rate at ball 50 and beyond, it completely flips the math. His strike rate acceleration absolutely dominates the hazard cost, making him a net positive exception to everything we just learned.
As the Columbia University study puts it so perfectly, for a player like Kohli, the strategy to protect the set batter extracts real mathematical value because his fundamental baseline is just elite. But for the average IPL batter, treating them like Kohli merely subsidizes a net negative state.
Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought to chew on next time you watch a master like Kohli build an innings. We know for sure his late-game explosion is mathematically spectacular. But, given that he scores slower than the average player during the middle overs to get there, is the cost of his slow start truly worth the inevitable fireworks? Let that sink in next time you watch a T20 masterclass.